In this week's channel message from the angels, they are telling us that as we are trying to embrace the energies of the new earth, we have a choice that we need to make. So, welcome back to my channel, you guys. I am so glad you are here. Thank you so much for joining me. For those of you who are new, my name is Ann Tucker. I am a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm, and I do that by going into a deep meditative state or trance. And from there, I raise my awareness up as high as I can go. I stretch a little higher, I connect, and then messages, information, and healing come through. And I share it here with you guys on YouTube. So before we jump into the message, I wanted to let you guys know that I will be live on YouTube on Tuesday, April 1st at 1 p.m. Pacific, talking about my Soul Convergence program, which is my deepest healing program. This is the program that the angels brought through, which is really designed to help us embrace the energies of the new earth. It is about balancing our masculine and feminine energies. It's focused specifically on the issues that we anchored in between really in the womb or birth to age 7. And so these are some of the hardest energies for us to work with because they're the hardest ones for us to access, hardest for us to remember. But this process, it's a fairly intensive, deep healing process that helps us with those specific kind of energies, the kind of issues that seem to be the hardest recurring themes that play out throughout our lives. So if you would like to know more about that program, you can come and join me for it's going to be a live Q&A, anything that you want to bring up specifically about that program. I'll be here on YouTube 1 p.m. If you have considered joining, if you're curious about it, I wanted to I was thinking about for me, like what would have made the difference for me if I was trying to start something like that? Because it's a big commitment in your time and your energy, really a very big commitment in your time and energy, and also in your money, in your finances. And I recognize that can be hard. And so I thought for myself, what would have made the difference for me? And it would be hearing from other people who had gone through it, who had done it, like real people, like what happened for you when you did it? What was the experience like? So we have like spontaneously, and we have asked some people for feedback, but we also, I will tell you guys, have gotten enormous numbers of beautiful comments from the people in the program to the tune of literally, we put those into one document. That document of testimonials is over 50 pages long. 50 pages, literally more than 50 pages of people expressing how meaningful the experience has been for them in different ways, talking about the journey, talking about what happened for them. Over 50 pages. Yeah, blew my mind. When I opened and really read through it, I'm like, holy cow, this is 50 pages long. And so I took many of those, which we've gotten permission for people to share publicly, and I added them onto the Soul Convergence webpage. If you go to the bottom of it, there's tabs there, and you can just read through and sort through, and it gives you much more in-depth about like what is the experience like, because we put like whole emails in there that you can kind of tab through based on topic. But if you want more information, if you'd like to hear specifically from people who've done it, it's organized there for you so you can easily tab through, click on each title, and then you can read. Sometimes it's just a comment, sometimes it's like a whole email where they talk about literally what their experience was like. And so I thought that's how I like to make decisions. I like to know, what was it really like? So then the other thing we thought would be really cool is, what if you really wanted to talk to someone who's been through the program? So we have a couple volunteers of people who have been through the program who are willing to do some calls with people to answer. Just, if you just want to say, hey, what was it like and would it fit for me? For someone who's they have nothing to gain. Right? They literally are just sharing. They're willing to do it because of the fact that it was really meaningful for them. And so we have a couple people who are willing to do those calls. There's a link in the description box below where you can click to schedule a call with one of those people and talk to them about their experience. So anyway, so just to let you know that's out there, just trying to I know it's hard to make choices like that, and I just want to make it as easy as possible because I know it's a super, super helpful program. And it's like, how do I share that with you? But in a way that you feel like it's coming from a place of objectivity. Yeah, where it's not just me going, wow, this is amazing, I love the angels. Where it's like somebody besides me who's done it, who really has nothing to gain, nothing to prove, and is totally objective. So that was the idea. So hopefully that will be of service. And so it's on, if you go to antucker.com, backslash or /soul dash convergence. At the bottom of the page, you'll see that new thing with all of the testimonials in there. Lots of them anyways. There's still more to add. But okay. The message from the angels today is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It's all marked up. I have a lot to share with you guys. And some of this was like the message is I would call the message about saying that we have to make a choice is what they're saying, and have to. That's my words, it's not theirs, because they never say you have to do something. They always say, here's what we would wish for you to do. But it is about making a choice. And it's basically saying, it's another way of looking at the message they've been giving us, which is that we can expect miracles, that the world is going to be changing around us. But if we are able to manage our energies, if we are able to be self-aware, which is like the whole practice, right? That is what we are all striving to do. If we can be very self-aware, then we are open to receiving miracles. And that's in all aspects of our lives, that the angels will take care of us. They will help us, and they will intervene in our lives in significant ways. It's really about being open to that assistance. So here in this message, you're talking about how do we open to it? How do we? And they say it's about the choice. And its self-awareness is super, super key. So they say it way better than I can. So I will share the whole message with you guys, and then we'll talk it through. And there's some parts in here I have to elaborate on, because there's a part in here that I heard something. I like economic podcasts as part of my geekiness, is I like to watch economic or listen to economic podcasts. And I listened to one that really opened my eyes to something, and then they address it here. So I'll explain that as well. But that was kind of answering a question I had, but I'll explain it when we get there. Okay, if you guys are ready, for the message? Let's dive in. All right, so here is the message.
Beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blessings, we are within. We are being with you together now in the allness, the oneness of all things. We wish to share with you now an inspiration for the times that are coming, a sense of yourselves as rising above what is happening, that there can be now within yourselves an ability to capture where your heart is and enlist the memories which have not yet begun to live a life of higher vibration. We speak to you now from the sense of ourselves in oneness already, through the continuum of living how we've been doing as part of yourselves, as living within, from, through the lives that you've chosen. We speak to you now from how you will become, that there can be no concurrent experiencing for yourselves of both realities at once, that you must separate yourselves from what has been, relinquish what has felt in the darkness, relinquish what has felt grasping and fearful, and allow the selves this opening that is coming. The separation that shall be formed comes with relinquishment. It comes with the releasing of what was, with the active participation, your own knowledge of what is being let go. Through this processing, you distill your vibration into the stillness of acceptance of what is. And from this placement of I amness, you can evolve into the higher octave of yourselves. There cannot now be both attunements simultaneously. You cannot now create within yourselves a sensation of what is now and what will be, and exist between them as in two concurrent melodies. A choice must be made internal. The vibrations to which you shall attune can vary and are varying. You may selectively assume a vibration for a time period and resume another later. The two cannot be enjoyed simultaneously. Know within the self, as you are continuing on, the participation of yourselves in each vibration shall attune to your heart's feelings, to what you are concentrating upon, to what you are allowing into the field of your focus. What are you centering within the sphere of your own conduct and awareness? Within that field, all shall reverberate in the attunement to what is happening within. Shall you choose to feel an attunement with what is positive and uplifting, or shall you be lost in fretful thought and worry? Shall you perpetuate old woundings? Shall you reverberate in attunement with others whose feelings are focused upon what has been lost or what is being lost? The concurrent operating within the field of humanity of these dualistic frequencies shall be ongoing for some time, but it is in the choosing that you shall separate from one another. There cannot be within one soul two participations, two fields of vibration held at once. However, you may be intermixing with another soul who is attuned to a frequency not like your own, who has held themselves within the digestion of what has been cantankerous and difficult. And they may feel this world a much different place from how you are perceiving it. The choice is made whether conscious or not, and the absolution that will envelop yourselves comes within your own yielding to the truth of what you are on the inside, to what you are perceiving. We wish for you to join into harmony within your soul so that you may experience greater and greater periods of alignment with an attunement that raises your frequency into a higher vibration, so that you may undulate into frequencies that are nearly touching what you shall become, so that you may raise yourself into the beginning octaves of a new verse, into that which is almost near, so that when it comes upon yourselves, it feels not like such a departure from where you've been, that it is merely a new dawn, a new day, a refreshing wind to lift you into a perspective that feels nuanced and yet becoming. We speak to you now of the occurrences that are set to envelop you soon. There shall be more difficulties on the horizon which you shall be meeting as a society within each culture, in each part of the world. There shall be new things and development which are cantankerous and difficult. There shall be war times ahead and new forays of difficulty economic, which shall proceed from the greed of those who cannot be encapsulated or regarded with oversight. You shall find yourselves unraveling a greatly hidden and indeterminate operation which has been tasking itself with the devouring of what has been your socially important constructions, that which have been the underpinnings of society, which have been important for the ongoing operating of towns and cities, that which have felt neighborly, which have been part of your daily living, there shall be ripples and discourse of discouraging news. And we wish to embrace you now and to hold you through the waves and tides that are coming. Allow yourselves to feel your hands held and to know you are lifted into the higher frequency of which we are speaking, that you may be guided through what is coming, through the environmental tempests, and know that what calls for you can be, shall be a continuity you would wish for. You may yearn for a new beginning, but in the yearning you separate yourself from it. The pathway through is to come to peace with what is. In the acceptance of all that is surrounding you, the door opens to what shall be a heightened state of consciousness. We ask for you, wish for you in these stages of calamitous unfolding, that you can return to the peaceful quiet of your own fortitude, to release whatever agonizes and open your hearts to the stillness and the surrender to what is, and allow the soul, the self, not to feel the undertow of what would pull you under, but to instead open the doorway to frequencies of higher vibration, which shall be ready to envelop you. Know the soul speaks the tunes which we are hearing. Know you have this capacity already. You need only step forward into the stillness, into the release of resistance. Fear not what is in your environment. Know you are separated from that which you would relinquish, and know you will gather toward yourself that which you aspire to embrace, that which you lean toward with the wholeness of one who is in the acceptance of what has been. Drop away the field of antagonism and open to the joys of the inner stillness that lead you forward to a greater peace and understanding of yourselves.
So yeah, it's a beautiful message, eloquent message, as they are. We love that about them. And it's also, I feel, really, really fitting with where we are right now and what's going on around us. And very much fitting with the free challenge we have coming up, which is about thought mastery, because they're talking about how do we master our thoughts. So that they're saying that a better experience is right there available to us, and that they can't force us into it, right? They can't push us into it. They can never violate our free will. And so what they're saying, they're wishing is that we have to do the opposite of what feels natural. And what feels natural is to kick back and to fight and to run away and to try to control. Boy, is that the human response. I don't know about how many of you, when things seem like they're falling apart, our first instinct is to try to reach out and control, is to try to grab whatever we can grab hold of. And first thing we think of is, what can I do? How can I fix it? What do I do? And they're saying, okay, that's actually resistance. When we're trying to control it, that is resistance. And they're telling us to do something that is very not human, that feels very foreign to us, which is to recognize when fear comes up and recognize when things in our environment seem unsettled or seem to be coming apart or seem to be not what we want, and to be in the space of stillness, to come to terms, to recognize, sit with ourselves, feel our feelings, notice that we feel whatever we feel, and then come to the space where, and to me, that's the key distinction there, to come into allowing, to come into acceptance. Doesn't mean you have to love it. It doesn't mean you have to be like, yay, I'm so happy about this. It just means we have to admit that it's true, So powerful, you guys, just to admit that it's true. So, okay, so let's break down the message. So here's what they're saying. Blessings, we are within. We are being with you together now in the allness, the oneness of all things. We wish to share with you now an inspiration for the times that are coming, a sense of yourselves as rising above what is happening, that there can be now within yourselves an ability to capture where your heart is and enlist the memories which have not yet begun, to live a life of higher vibration. So first paragraph, they always tell us where they're going, right? They always give us the indication of where they're going to take us today. And of course, so poetic, to enlist the memories which have not yet begun, right? This is like living from our future self, living from our higher perspective. So beautiful. And the message is about rising above what is happening. So they're saying, yep, there's craziness going on in our lives now. And there may be increasing craziness on the near horizon. And they're saying that the goal of this message is to help us to live, to rise above it and live through it from a higher vibration, to experience it differently, to not be stuck in the difficulty, to be able to thrive through this process. And I love it that they call it an inspiration for the times that are coming. This message is an inspiration. And think about what inspiration means. Is it to inspire is like respirate is to breathe, but it also is a reference to spirit, to inspirate, to bring more spirit into, right? To bring more spirit into the times that are coming. Beautiful. All right, next paragraph. They say, we speak to you now from the sense of ourselves in oneness already. And this is really a reference. This is relating to the fact that they're always telling us that the angels very much hitch their wagon to ours. Like we each of us has a guardian angel that was born with us, that was born at the same time as us. And they're born into a light body, not into a physical body. But they're right here. They're like part of your apparatus. They are with you for the whole journey. And what's crazy is they do that knowing that you are the one that's going to make all the decisions and they are just along for the ride. And think about the amount of love and trust and faith that takes, is to say, hey, you may make some crazy choices and I'm going to be right there next to you the entire time, and whatever you experience, I will experience, and I'm just here for you because I love you. And I'll do wherever you go, I will be there. Right? And that's the gamble they take. And every one of us has a guardian angel like that. And then there are many other angels that are here supporting us. That there are way more angels than humans here supporting us. So the first part of this paragraph is about that, saying that they're basically living with us, living the lives that we are creating, that we are choosing, which to me is such an amazing demonstration of their love for us. So we speak to you now from the sense of ourselves in oneness already, through the continuum of living how we've been doing as part of yourselves, as living within, from, and through the lives that you've chosen. We speak to you now from how you will become, that there can be no concurrent experiencing for yourselves of both realities at once, that you must separate yourselves from what has been, relinquish what has felt in the darkness, relinquish what has felt grasping and fearful, and allow the selves this opening that is coming. And so this is, I think, through this whole message, and I feel I kind of highlighted this section because I think it's really key about what they're talking about. This idea that we can't be both at one time. And so in that idea that we are, whether we are aware of it or not, we are making a choice in the moment. Which direction are we going to go with our feelings and our thoughts? And so often, it'll be a thing where maybe our feelings get the better of us for a moment, but moments pass. And so in the next moment, we can become aware of it and we can make a choice and we can choose to move into a higher frequency. And they're describing in this message basically how to do that. But this is the idea that we can't be both, that we can't think we're in a high vibration and at the same time also be feeling the fear and the resistance and all that. They're saying when the fear and resistance come up, become self-aware, become aware. There it is. I'm feeling it. Okay, what do I do now? How do I come to terms with what I'm feeling so that I can open the door to my higher expression, so that I can open the door to a better experience for myself? And relinquishing what is grasping and fearful, and allow the selves this opening that is coming. And grasping, that word, it really makes me think about how we do react. Like I took back when I was in, I think, junior high, I took lifeguard training, which, by the way, I did not pass, so don't count on me to save you. I tried, but I could never get the timing down for the breaststroke. I tried, and I could never do it, so I never got my certification. So I'm sorry, I cannot save you. But But when I was in the training, one of the things they showed us was if you are ever trying to rescue a drowning person, that you have to be super super careful when you approach them, because they will be so scared that is if you come close, their first reaction is to grab you and literally to try to climb on top of you, and what will happen is they will push you under and drown you. And so they give you like very careful instructions about how you're supposed to approach a person who's drowning. So if we think about that as an example of like humanity in general, how do we respond when we are fearful? We grab. And what happens when we grab is we take the source of our rescue and we drown it, right? We push it under. And so that is that grasping. That's the idea of the grasping. When we hold too tight, we lock out spirit. We cannot inspire or inspirate our lives if we are grasping or holding too tightly. Next paragraph. The separation that shall be formed comes with relinquishment. It comes with the releasing of what was, with the active participation, your own knowledge of what is being let go. Through this processing, you distill your vibration into the stillness of acceptance of what is. And from this placement of I amness, you can evolve into the higher octave of yourselves. So I love this paragraph. So to relinquish something means to giving up, abandoning, to stop holding. So it gets to that grasping idea, and to relinquish is to literally to let it go physically, to let it go. And physically is energy in the body, letting it go. So the separation that shall be formed comes with relinquish. How do we separate from what's difficult in the environment and the circumstances? How do we put ourselves into the higher vibration? Is through relinquishing, letting go. It comes with the releasing of what was, with the active participation, your own knowledge of what is being let go. So it's really, they're calling us to our awareness, to ask us to be super, super self-aware and to recognize whenever we're being drawn, and it's going to happen because we are human and fear is natural and we're going to be aware of it. But they're not saying we have to be perfect, that we're never supposed to feel fear. They're just saying be aware when the fear comes up, right? And it's going to take, and that's why they say active participation in our own knowledge of what is being let go. And they've given us before sort of the process of to say, okay, first, grieve what it is that's being lost and acknowledge it, and then immediately turn to see the phoenix rising from the ashes. So here they say, through this processing, you distill your vibration into the stillness of acceptance of what is. And so I wanted to go into this idea, this concept of acceptance of what is, because I was mentioning I had this kind of aha moment that what does it mean to accept something, and how do we do it? How do we come to acceptance with something that we really don't like and that we're not happy about? And so it brought up for me that it's not about loving it or even liking it. It is about acknowledging that it's true. So I was thinking about those of you that have heard of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. She came up with this model of grief for when people go through a loss, like the death of a loved one. And she said there are 5 stages that we go through. And the 5 stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I had to read that. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. So that first one there is denial. And I can absolutely relate to that. Like when I could think about, like in my first marriage, when it was going south, and it was before, like there was some really, really obvious signs to me, like things that I should have, they were like right, like boom, right here. And I so didn't want to see them that I closed my third eye down. I literally shut down my intuition so that I wouldn't see them. And that is the that is the power of denial. And I've got denial like is big in me. Like I can deny anything if I really want to. I'm very, very good at denial. So I have to be super aware of myself. Like, is there anything that I'm not acknowledging? That first stage. So as we're coping with the challenges in our life, the first stage is acknowledging that it's true. And when we step into that denial, the next thing that comes up is anger. So same thing in any of these stages. If we just get to the final stage, acceptance, we have to go through denial. Then the next stage that comes up is like anger, like feel, and it might be like, why am I angry? Anger might be coming up randomly, or it might be very specific, like, anger at why did you close your Facebook group or whatever it is, anger can be coming up, recognizing that's a stage of the process. The third stage, bargaining, is where we go into, well, what if I don't like this bad news. Maybe I got some bad health news that I don't want. What if I change my habits? What if I you go to a different doctor and get a second opinion. What if I, like, where we try to change the environment? And that to me is the grasping, was where we're like, I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna modify this bad news I don't like by taking action or taking control over my environment. And that's the stage she calls bargaining. Then comes depression, which is not so fun, which is a stage where it feels like you just kind of give up. And then finally is the last stage, which is acceptance. And so acceptance is the place where we get to the space where we didn't have to like it, didn't have to love it, but we acknowledge, we are no longer in denial. We're acknowledging that this is true, that this is the reality now. And we can get there faster, right? How quickly are we going to navigate the 5 stages? And maybe you can even kind of breeze through some of these stages to get to the space of acknowledging the truth, right? And that is what the acceptance is. When we get there, and this is so powerful, you guys, when we get to that stage of acceptance, that last stage, acknowledging that whatever is happening is actually true and we're not fighting it or resisting it anymore, then we are in the place of stillness. And one of the beautiful things that the angels have told us is that the place of stillness is a super powerful place. That it is that's like where divine feminine energy sits, is in the place of stillness. So it is where all potential for creation exists. And so if we can get into that space of stillness, then that is like the beginning of a new day, the next breath. And they say that if you can get to that space, you tap in its infinite creative potential is what happens there. And they say the door opens, and then this higher vibration, this higher frequency reality, this higher potential for you is right through the door, right? All we have to do is get to that stage of like, okay, I'm at peace with what is, and stop fighting. Stop kicking. At that point, then the door opens and we can move through it. So this to me really helped me to understand what they mean by acceptance. Hopefully that helps for you guys too, that it doesn't mean that we have to love it. It means we have to kind of move through, recognize if we are in any one of these stages. Are we in denial or anger? Are we bargaining, like trying to control it? Are we in depression about it? Any of those. Then tell yourself, this is where we have the active participation, as they said in this paragraph, active participation, your own knowledge of what is being let go. You become aware, self-aware. Oh, I'm in that stage, right? I'm feeling angry. Aha, there I am. I'm in stage 2. Okay, all I got to do is decide. I got to choose that I'm going to be okay with what is, that I'm going to acknowledge this is true. This is the current reality. This is true. Doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. But I acknowledge that this is the way it currently is, and I take that in. And I allow it to be. And when we do that, we are in acceptance. And that's where the magic happens, right? Super, super cool. There's always somebody who's going to worry that, like, what if this is all just a big plot to, like, you're just telling us to accept like, these are evil people who are trying to lure us down a bad path. And you're just telling us, go without fighting. I'm like, no, that's not what it is. I'm sorry. It's not that. It is truly trying to understand how to work with our own energies, right? That's all this is trying to understand we are infinite creative beings, and the only thing that prevents us from having a life we absolutely love is our own resistance. And so all that we're trying to understand here is, how do we work with our own energy? Yeah, how do we tap into the infinite potential that's inside of us to create a beautiful reality? It's by not being in resistance to ourselves. Yeah. So, and making space for the growth. And that's a big part of it too, is understanding that we are dynamic beings, and that humanity, our life here is very, very dynamic. It's constant change. And when we fight the change, we create unhappiness for ourselves. And when we flow through the change, we make space for growth and for new beautiful things to come our way. And growth is hard, growth is challenging, but it also is beautiful, right? And once we grow into the new thing, then we're like, wow, this is actually much better. And that's where we're trying to get. Yeah, that's where we're trying to get. So, and there we are. Okay, so if I get to the end of that, and okay, here we are. And I lost my place again. Let me just make sure I'm on the right place with you guys. Okay, here it is. So next paragraph, they say, there cannot now be both attunements simultaneously. You cannot now create within yourselves a sensation of what is now and what will be, and exist between them as in 2 concurrent melodies. A choice must be made internal. The vibrations to which you shall attune can vary and are varying. You may selectively assume a vibration for a time period and resume another later. The two cannot be enjoyed simultaneously. Yeah, so this is that idea about choice. And the angels have been really big on this idea of choice lately, that talking about choice, that we have to make a choice. And there's that word have to. They don't usually say have to. That's me saying have to, but they're telling us that when we make a choice, and that it opens us up to much more creative power. Yeah. And they're saying so where is this? You cannot now create within yourselves a sensation of what is now and what will be and exist between them as in two concurrent melodies. So this, again, back to that idea that we cannot straddle easily. We're either in the lower vibration or in the upper vibration. We're going to be in one or the other. So the game for us going forward is going to be noticing when we're in the lower vibration, becoming self-aware to say, okay, I'm in one of those 5 stages, and then choosing, make the eternal choice to sit down and come to peace with your feelings and recognize and accept your feelings and acknowledge your feelings, feel the grief, feel the loss, and then accept what is. That is the key. And when we do that, boom, new things happen, new things open for us, right? And they're telling us that we're going to move back and forth between this. You can selectively assume a vibration for a period of time. So we might fall into a low vibration temporarily. And they say, and resume another later. The two cannot be enjoyed simultaneously, though. So that's the part about trying to call us to our self-awareness. To know within the self, as you are continuing on, the participation of yourselves in each vibration shall attune to your heart's feelings, to what you are concentrating upon, to what you are allowing into the field of your focus. What are you centering within the sphere of your own conduct and awareness? Within that field, all shall reverberate in the attunement to what is happening within. So this is really trying to bring our focus to notice what we're feeling, notice what we're thinking about, which is why we're doing the challenge on thought mastery. When I asked the angels, what does it take to get to enlightenment? They said, master your thoughts, right? It is what are we allowing into the field of our focus. So they're really trying to emphasize here how much of an individual choice, how present we have to be, and recognize that a choice is being made whether we're conscious of it or not. So we're trying to become increasingly conscious of what we're doing with our thoughts, of what we're doing with our feelings. And when we do it, we benefit. What are you centering within the sphere of your conduct and awareness? Within that field, all shall reverberate in attunement with what is happening within. So we try to make as much as we can, make a conscious choice about where we're putting our thoughts and feelings. And I know it can be hard at times, but that's why they're saying it's not like we have a bad feeling and we just push it down. We go through the process of sitting with it, grieving the feeling, letting the feeling be felt, let it come up, express it, and then accept it, come into acceptance with the feeling, right? And then that place of stillness where we're like, all right, this is where it is, then the door opens. Shall you choose to feel in attunement with what is positive and uplifting, or shall you be lost in fretful thought and worry? Shall you perpetuate old woundings? Shall you reverberate in attunement with others whose feelings are focused upon what has been lost or what is being lost? And boy, that is a good one right there, that last line about shall we reverberate in attunement with others. It can be really, really easy when we are around other people who are really getting stuck on the bad things, who are really feeling the heaviness of what the situation is. It can be easy to get pulled down. And I think it's one of the hardest things that as humans we learn to try to fit in. We match our vibration to other people's vibrations. And I think as we are trying to go through this process of this dramatic change, of this shift in consciousness, I think that we are being tasked with the responsibility to say, okay, I'm going to try my best to recognize when I'm with someone who's feeling low, and I'm going to try very hard to hold my vibration higher and try to pull them up, to not be pulled down, to recognize they want to be up where you are. They want to be feeling good. Why not come in, offer the love, offer the compassion, but do it from a place of high vibration and just be super, super aware. I think we've all had those friends that maybe have a conversation that leans a lot towards negativity, and how we leave those conversations feeling less happy and feeling not as good. And so why not surround yourselves, or maybe try to steer those conversations to happier topics, to higher vibration topics, and to bring them up to where you are, so that everybody leaves feeling uplifted. Like, how much better would that be? The concurrent operating of the field of humanity of these dualistic frequencies shall be ongoing for some time. And concurrent means two at the same time at this stage. So both the high vibe and the low vibe, the concurrent operating within the field of humanity. So you can't have two at the same time in a person, but within the field, we obviously have lots of different types of vibration. And these two, the lower and the higher, shall be running at the same time for some time, ongoing for some time. But it is in the choosing that you shall separate from one another. There cannot be within one soul two participations, two fields of vibration at once. So here is they're saying, okay, but it's what is going to create the division, what is going to create the separation for you into the higher vibe is your choice. However, you may be intermixing with another soul who is attuned to frequency not like your own, who has held themselves within the digestion of what has been cantankerous and difficult, and they may feel this world a much different place from how you are perceiving it. The choice is made whether conscious or not. So this is getting back to that idea of, do you have friends that maybe, are more negative, and how does it make you feel when you're with them? And can you stay in a high vibe when you're with them? It's hard to do it, actually, but it's a good exercise. And the absolution that will envelop yourselves comes within your own yielding to the truth of what you are on the inside, to what you are perceiving. So this is that idea. So the absolution, the choice will be made whether conscious or not, and the absolution that will envelop yourselves. So think about that experience. Think that you're at lunch, you're with a friend, maybe a longtime friend who tends to hold a lower vibration, who tends to feel a lot of negativity. And how do you become absolved? To be absolved of something, absolution, I looked it up in the dictionary, is to forgive or release from guilt. How do you engage or connect with that person, but forgive or release yourself from the negativity that they're experiencing? So the Latin absolution, the root of the word absolution has a Latin root, and I got this from the dictionary, which is absolutus, which equals or means set free. So if you think about that as the origin of that word is to set something free. So to forgive it, to free it, release it from guilt, from condemnation. So imagine you're with somebody who's really locked in condemnation, who's really locked in negativity. How do you set yourself free from that? What is the absolution? How can you be with that person and be freed from that negativity? And they say it comes, the absolution envelops yourselves. And this is interesting. Think about that. They didn't say that it is absolution is something, it wraps around you to envelop you. It comes with your own yielding to the truth of what you are on the inside. In other words, yield to your truth. Don't try to connect to the person when they're in that low frequency. Wrap yourself in your own frequency. Literally put it around you like a blanket and yield to you, yield to what you are on the inside, and bring that into the interaction and stay in that. And then let them connect to you, right? And so that's it, to what you are perceiving. So that's what they're saying. I love that idea. Envelop yourselves inside of your truth. Next paragraph. We wish for you to join into harmony within your soul so that you may experience greater and greater periods of alignment with an attunement that raises your frequency into a higher vibration so that you may undulate into frequencies that are nearly touching what you shall become. That was like a long sentence there. But the idea here that to join into harmony within your soul is to be in harmony in your soul, is to be in where you're balanced, where there's not pieces of yourself that you are repressing or pushing away. And so that is our goal, is to get to the space. And that's the work we do in Soul Convergence, is to try to help us to balance our masculine and feminine energies, which we all have, nothing to do with male or female. It is like yin and yang. How do we balance those, come into harmony internal? And that means really incorporating any parts of anything we've ever done, seen, experienced, said, any experience we've had that we wish we didn't have or wish we didn't experience. Those are the things we're pushing away, and we have to learn how to bring those back in, to love ourselves into wholeness, to acknowledge all parts of who we've been, who we've ever been. And so that's what they're talking about here. And that is the work. If you want help with that, join us in Soul Convergence. But we wish for you to join into harmony within your soul, to bring that into alignment, so that you may experience greater and greater periods of alignment with the attunement that raises your frequency into a higher vibration, so that you may undulate into frequencies. And that undulate is like this, into frequencies that are nearly touching what you shall become, right? That's how high we're going to go. So that you may raise yourself into the beginning octaves of a new verse, into that which is almost near. So in other words, it's going to be lifting us up. And then they say, so that when it comes upon yourselves, when the flash of light comes and we go through this great big shift of consciousness, it feels not like such a departure from where you've been, that it is merely a new dawn and a new day, a refreshing wind to lift you into a perspective that feels nuanced and yet becoming. And nuanced means subtle and appealing distinctions. So it's that idea that we will get used to living in this higher state of being, and that when the shift of light comes, it'll be a shift, but it won't be going from the low to the high. It'll be like, oh, this is a good day. Ooh, this is a nice feeling, and nuanced, right? So nuanced, it'll be subtle variations of beauty that we'll be able to experience as we go into that higher state of consciousness. So it'll be like, oh, we're here, and then all of a sudden we break through that ceiling, that glass ceiling, right? All right, next paragraph. We speak to you now of the occurrences that are, okay, this is where it gets a little bit crunchy, you guys. We speak to you now of the occurrences that are set to envelop you soon. There shall be more difficulties on the horizon, which you shall be meeting as a society, within each culture and each part of the world. There shall be new things in development which are cantankerous and difficult. There shall be war times ahead, and new forays of difficulty economic, which shall proceed from the greed of those who cannot be encapsulated or regarded with oversight. So this last part about the economy, this is the angels responding to a question I had. And I thought about, is it distracting from the message? But I felt I should leave it in because they included it, so I'm leaving it in. But I feel like it needs explanation because it is I think it's a specific response to a question that I had. And I'll read the next bit of it and then I'll explain what it was. But they say, you shall find yourselves unraveling a greatly hidden and indeterminate operation which has been tasking itself with the devouring of all that has been your socially important constructions, that which have been the underpinnings of society, which have been important for the ongoing operating of towns and cities, that which have felt neighborly, which have been part of your daily living. So this is so this came from, I watched a YouTube video not that long ago. It was like a couple days ago, and it kind of blew my mind. And it was from this really amazing young woman named Tiffany I think it was like Serini or Serati. And she owned a little gym. You know, it's like musical education for babies. And you go and you bring your babies. I brought my kids to a little gym when they were babies. And they're fun. It's like a fun activity you do with your little ones. And she owned one of these, and it's a franchise. And she was bought out by what is called private equity investors. And so private equity, to give us a definition, what is a private equity investor? I looked it up to make sure I gave a really clear definition. Investors pool money together to buy unlisted companies and restructure for profitability, and then they sell it. So it is, unlisted companies is something that's like not on the stock market. So private equity investors come together as a group, and it used to be they were limited. It used to be it could only be 30 of them at a time, and then it was like changed it and said, okay, you can have 1,000 investors in one, and then now they change it where there's no limit. But it's basically a group of investors who come together and they look for businesses where they could be made more profitable. They buy the business, they try to make it more profitable, and then typically they buy it, they try to make it more profitable, and then they sell it for a profit. So that's kind of, historically, that was the model of private equity investment. And I know this is getting really wonky, but bear with me because I feel like I do have to explain what they said. So anyways, this poor woman, Tiffany, so what happened is apparently, and she discovered all of this. She ran into a problem with a private equity investor, and they tried to make an example out of her. And she has since come on to social media trying to explain her situation and trying to have a voice in a way to try to almost protect herself. But what happened is these private equity investors, and private equity is what they say here, who cannot be encapsulated or regarded with oversight. But private equity is not regulated. It's not like the stock market. It's not a public institution or public organization. So it's just like a private company. Nobody can look behind the doors to see what they're doing. So that's why they're saying who cannot be encapsulated or regarded with oversight. So they have been looking out into the world and saying, what are the kind of businesses that people will spend money even in the worst times, even when the economy is doing its worst? What sort of businesses will people still frequent and go to. And it's all of our neighborhood businesses. It's the kind of things that we need to do in order for our life to work. It's the veterinarians, it's the funeral homes, it is childcare, it's preschool companies, right? It's the kind of stuff, dry cleaners, it's the kind of stuff that we go to no matter what. Maybe not dry cleaners, but lots of stuff we go to no matter what. And that we will spend the money on no matter what. And many of those are franchised. And so what private equity did is they said, okay, they went out and they started buying up a lot of these franchises. But rather than trying to make them, and this is not all private equity, there are some private equity companies who have been doing this apparently. They were buying up these franchises, and then rather than trying to make them more profitable, these would be stores such as Joann's Fabric Stores would be one of them. Joann's was most of the stores, like 97% of their stores were profitable, but they were bought by a private equity company who then came in order to buy them, they didn't use their own money. What they did is they went to a bank and they took out a loan. And they took the loan out at a variable rate. If you've ever bought a home, you know you have to choose between a fixed rate, which means the rate never changes, or a variable rate, which means that the rate is kind of set for a short period of time, and then it will fluctuate with the market. Well, variable rate loans are typically a much lower rate of interest. So if you're going to get the cheapest rate you're going to go with a variable rate. So these private equity companies would go to the bank, take out a big variable rate loan to buy the company. In this case, let's say, for example, Joann's Fabrics. And they did. And they took out the variable rate loan. Then, because they own the company, they assign the loan to the company. They assign it to Joann's Fabrics. They say, okay, now this loan which we took out to buy you, we're now going to make you buy yourself, Joann's. We're going to now take the loan and we're going to put it on top of the books, on the books of Joann's Fabrics. And Joann's has to now pay it back. So they now have this new bill that they have to pay every month, which is the loan which the private equity company took out to buy them. On top of it, the private equity company says, and we are now officially the managers of Joann's Fabrics, so you also have to pay us a management fee. So now Joann's is paying a loan that they didn't have to pay before, which is a variable rate which could go up tomorrow and be twice as expensive. They're also paying a management fee. Then private equity says, and by the way, look at all this valuable real estate you're sitting on. Maybe they own all the land that their stores are sitting on, and they say, we could take some of that money for ourselves. So they sell the land out from underneath them, and they lease it back to Joann's Fabrics. So now Joann is paying for a loan, they're paying for a management fee, and they're paying rent, which they didn't used to have to pay. And all of a sudden, they go in the tanker, and it fails. The business fails. And the private equity company doesn't care because they have already gotten all of their money out. They basically sold off they will even go in and take their inventory and sell their inventory and sell it out to liquidators and stuff like that and do whatever they can to take money out of the company. And this is happening. So then this is another piece to this, you guys. And I'm sorry to go into this, but I think it's important. You can just watch Tiffany's video, but I think it's important because the angels mentioned it in our thing. So I want to tell you about it. So, okay, I'll keep going. So then you have the company fails, and this has been happening. And if you look at like year over year over year, it's like the number of failures has been growing, and it's becoming increasing. So why would banks make a loan to the private equity company if they knew that the franchises that were going to be holding the loans were going to fail? They knew they were going to go under. It's because the banks aren't keeping the loans. It's a lot like what happened in 2008 is they're taking these loans and they're bundling them together and they're selling them as a product, as a loan product that people can invest in. And the people that are buying them are pensions and 401ks. So who is going to be hurt by this? It's going to be all of the franchises that we go to that are usually owned by mom and pops, by individuals in communities. They're the kind of stores that we will rely on, that we count on, that we go to. And then the people who are going to suffer if the whole thing crashes in the way that 2008 crashed, then the people who are going to hurt the worst are going to be pension holders and people with 401ks. So you guys, it's a big deal. And I read it, I heard this, and it floored me thinking about this and seeing the potential. It's not happening, like we're not there yet, but putting attention on it, maybe we can prevent it from happening. But I mention it because the angels mentioned it, and they're talking about it here. I'm pretty sure this is what they're talking about, you guys. And I was thinking about it, and so that's why I feel like they put it in the message. And that's why I feel like I kind of had to tell you the whole story. I will find Tiffany's video, and I will put a link to it down below so you can just watch it and watch it from her perspective. And much of this is already public and people know about. The piece they don't know about is the repackaging and selling it to pensions and 401ks. That's the piece that most people don't know about. And so anyways, it's kind of a big deal, and you can look out for yourself. In her video, Tiffany describes like what that product is called. There's a name for it. You can double check and see, are you invested in anything? If you have an investment, are they invested in any of these things? You don't want them. You don't want these bad loans is what they are. And they gave them a name. It's like see something something. I will find the name for you guys so you have it, and then you can just check and see. Is it anything I'm involved in? Is it invested in that? And so that's how you can kind of look out for yourself. But anyways, it's a big deal because I think it could affect people that we care about, people, our communities that we care about, and that is what I think the angels are saying here. And they're saying, so you shall find yourself unraveling a greatly hidden and indeterminate operation. Indeterminate means not exactly known or defined, which has been tasking itself with the devouring of what has been your socially important constructions, that which has been the underpinnings of society, which have been important to the ongoing operations of towns and cities. So to me, that's veterinary offices, dentist offices, daycares, the things that we need, the constructions of a town, of a city, of a life, right? That which have felt neighborly, so the people who are next door, that which have been part of your daily living. So the reason they bring this up is not to freak us out, and it's not meant to freak us out. Like this is not exploded or imploded or anything. It's just a thing that's happening that could be bad. And the reason they bring it up is because next paragraph they say, there shall be ripples and discourse of discouraging news, and we wish to embrace you now and hold you through the waves and tides that are coming. So they're saying this is one of those things. This is one of those scary things that you hear about. And this poor woman, Tiffany, has been where this private equity fund has got like really deep pockets, and they're trying to literally put her in jail, I think, because she's trying to stand up against them. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And so anyways, I feel really bad for her. But I bring it up here because it was on my mind, and the angels spoke to it, and they spoke to it because I was worried about it. And so what they're telling me, and so they're speaking to me just as much as they are to you guys, they're saying, hey, there's going to be stuff like this. There's going to be stuff about in the news. You're going to find podcasts that bum you out and that are sad and scary. And they say, there shall be ripples of discourse of discouraging news. And we wish to embrace you now and hold you through the waves and tides that are coming. Allow yourself to feel your hands held and know you are lifted into the higher frequency of which we are speaking, that you may be guided through what is coming, the environmental tempests, and know that what calls for you shall be a continuity you would wish for. So they're not saying that this stuff that I was talking about is going to explode or implode. They're referencing it because I read about it and because I was worried about it. And they're using me as an example. They're saying, I was worried, I felt bad. And they're telling me, hey, let it go. Like, don't stress yourself out. Focus on the positive. Focus on, like, let them hold my hands and guide me through. And so that is what so anyways, I felt like I had to kind of share the whole thing with you guys to explain why they said that. So next paragraph. You may yearn for a new beginning, but in the yearning, you separate yourself from it. The pathway through is to come to peace with what is. In the acceptance of all that is surrounding you, the door opens to what shall be a heightened state of consciousness, right? To come to peace with what is. We ask for you, wish for you, in these stages of calamitous unfolding, that you can return to the peaceful quiet of your own fortitude, to release whatever agonizes and opens your hearts to the stillness and the surrender to what is, and allow the soul, the self, not to feel the undertow of what would pull you under, right? And so there I'm making a choice. I'm making a choice to acknowledge what is, to say, yep, okay, this might be true, this is happening, and it may or may not develop into what could be a bad circumstance, but I'm not going to anticipate it. I'm not going to dwell on it. I will check to make sure that I'm not invested in any of those things, and I hope you do too. And then I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to release, and I'm not going to feel the undertow of what would pull me under, but to instead open the doorway to frequencies of higher vibration which shall be ready to envelop you. Know the soul speaks the tunes which we are hearing. Know you have this capacity already. You need only step forward into the stillness, into the release of resistance. Fear not what is in your environment. Know you are separated from that which you would relinquish. And know you will gather toward yourself that which you aspire to embrace, that which you lean toward with the wholeness of one who is in the acceptance of what has been. Drop away the field of antagonism and open to the joys of the inner stillness that lead you forward into a greater peace and understanding of yourselves. So I love this. And I also say, like, I also give it to the angels. I say that, okay, there are going to be bad things that happen in our world. And the thing that I talked about may or may not turn into anything. It might not. The stuff they talk about, war, may or may, I mean, it's happening in a lot of places. It may grow, it may not. But whatever it is, if we trust that everything is being guided to its highest and best expression, if we trust that we are all being led, that things will work out. And even if we have individual personal change that feels scary or bad in the moment, if we trust that it's going to be leading us to something better, and we trust the angels, trust how we're being guided. If you look back at your own life and say, okay, where are you today? You currently have your needs met. You're fed, you're warm, right? Or maybe cool, depending on where you're living. You're comfortable. And so you have what you need. And if you look through your life, you always have had. You are still alive today, which means you have always had what you needed. And why would that change? Why would that be any different? You have always been looked after. And maybe sometimes you've been brought up to the brink. Some of us have been brought up right to the brink, right? But then we were brought back. And so we know, like when you look at that, you know even more so that you are cared for, you are loved, you are being guided, and being allowed to have this incredible experience that we are having. So yeah, so the best, I used to say that the best prediction of our future, right, is to look back at, like, how have we been guided in the past, and to say, yeah, why would that change now? Why would your angels suddenly abandon you when all along they've been right there with you, making sure that you could be here today? And so yeah, so we're all being taken care of, and we will continue to be taken care of. All right, you guys, have a fabulous weekend. Thank you so much for being with us. Sending you tons of love. And I will see you here again next Friday live. Bye, you guys.